So, I brought a couple of different card decks for the lineup today. I have the Wild Unknown Archetypes, Tarot of Sexual Magic, the Rider-Waite Smith Travel Mini Deck, and the 8 Coins Tattoo Tarot. 8 Coins, if you haven't heard me say, she was a tattoo artist. She's a tattoo artist, and she is on Instagram. And I just followed her because I love her tattoo style. It's something about it. It's really classic to me. And it took me a couple years. I don't know when she came out with the deck, but it took me a while to connect the dots. It wasn't until I got the deck, because I had been seeing it. And, I sat on the idea of getting it, and I finally got it. And when I looked at the deck, and it's 8 Coins Tattoo Tarot, I was like, 8 coins like the tattoo artist? And I went and I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. But I had already been admiring her work, so that was like perfect. So this is going to be a collective read, and then I'm going to break it down into the group of 4s that I was doing. It may be next weekend I go back to the individual reads. So, okay, we have 2 lapis lazuli crystals. And this is throat chakra. This is all about truth, baby. In the middle, we have the crown. So, Gemini was in my energy earlier today, and it is quite appropriate because as soon as I opened up my app, I think it was Instagram, the first post I saw was from a Gemini that I'm, very fond of, that I'm close to. Well, I would say as close as we allow each other to be to each other. Like it's not like false closeness. It's over time it gets closer. She is a very, very good friend. So she came up, and it was a synchronicity that she came into. And the word I got for Gemini, because I know I was speaking about Sagittarius yesterday, and I kind of got handled by spirit for it. But the word I got for Gemini was wellspring. And when I looked it up, it's fountainhead, or to have a generous portion of, or to, it's like an outpour or pouring over of something. And it could be sadness, but it could also be joy. So there's that. And I was wondering why they were so under the radar for a minute. And I think this is where shit's getting sifted and sorted out for them on a personal level. So when it comes to Gemini energy, because there are there's multiple parts to this sign, especially when it's the entity influence that goes with Mercury. It's 2 angels. This Raphael is mercurial, okay? And it has a lot to do with healing and things like that. But what people don't know is that there are also other assignments of entities. And these 2 particular angels are twins. They're Barakiel and Kokabio. Fallen angels, whether they call them that or not. But one is knowledgeable of astrology and is very studied, very, very mentally, like, scholarly. And then the other one is kind of like an instigator and actually is associated with lightning and that shock and awe factor. So that's where you kind of get this twin influence showing up in everyday life. So it depends on which one is the dominant twin, if that makes sense. And that will, for a long time, be the one that leads a life trend or a lifestyle. And sometimes they take turns. So what I got handled about I was told, stop telling them. Just stop mentioning it. Don't don't forewarn anybody, because if they're, I'm getting like Thief in the Night vibes. When I was a kid, there was this religious movie that they would show us, and it was like to put fear, instill fear in people, but the concept of it never left me, and it's real, really real, as far as how things will progress. You'll be here today and gone tomorrow, vibrationally, not physically. And it has happened physically with this whole what's it called? This whole plague. And I'm really talking about the game Plague Inc. Because this simulation I played years ago and knew, I was like, there's no accident. This is coming into my experience. I'm sitting here playing this game, and it's mutating a virus to see how quickly you can wipe out certain things, and how it travels, and what modes of tweaking it would make it more effective. And I was like, that is the oddest thing in the world. But it brought my attention to it anyway. So some people are gone in the physical sense, because they're not they're not intended to be a part of this next cycle. And it's not speaking on, their transition in a sorrowful way or in a grieving way, because I know that things like that are necessary. It's a purification of some sort, whether it's manufactured or not, because it is patented, and you can't patent um, naturally occurring things. So, just gonna throw that out there. But to go on another level, it's like things and people that survive certain things that are intended to wipe them out. It's like survival of the fittest, right? This is what happens amongst all organisms, all civilizations. It matters not. So I know that this process is coming. If you've ever read, what's his name? It's called the Synchronicity Key, and he talks about how history repeats itself. So I knew that was coming, but it's like, okay, now, because those who are still here, it's like it's supposed to have been a wake up call. So the spiritual aspect of it, this ninth house energy that's actually at the bottom of the map, you know what I'm saying? As far as like South Node, that's what I mean. It's like we're supposed to be headed toward true north, where we can really make sense of the spirituality and stuff that we've been getting exposed to. And this is why religion is coming into question, and has been for a minute. It's been that influence of bringing it up and really investigating it and seeing what it's worth with the Gemini energy, to really do your research, do your homework, and with that sense of faith that Sagittarius has. So it goes up or whatever. So with that, like the like a thief in the night concept, it's that one day you'll be vibing with people and in the same vicinity, and then you'll be pulled on assignment, and you'll just, like, people will be like, where'd they go? Where'd they go? Oh my God, where'd they go? You'll be well in your purpose. You'll be well in your vibration, or with those who vibrate kindredly to you. And you'll become a part of a new, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's almost like a plant. Like, you might start out as seedlings with others, and then it's like you get planted elsewhere, and they can't reach it, or um they won't be able to reach you, not even energetically, because of where you'll be. So that's what they kind of gave me. They kind of handed me to. They were like, hey, we know how you feel about this, but we tell them, we reach out to each and every individual the way that we do. If they don't hear it in a whisper, they'll hear it in the shout. The more you shout it, the more they'll ignore it. Okay, cool. So pretty much it's like, just be quiet, because those who are aligned with the vibration that is getting better, that is growing, that is understanding that you don't ever finish healing. You can finish healing an aspect of something, and you can also come on that later on and heal some more and get an elevated understanding with the new knowledge you've acquired. So there's levels and stages to healing itself, whether it's a raw wound, whether it's something that always, bothers you, is a little sore, and then to a point of remission where it still has a mental effect, but it doesn't have the physical attachment that it once had, if that makes sense. So it still brought me to a place. It's like there's certain people that can only be reached by certain messengers. And even if the vibration or what they're encouraging isn't in the highest vibration, they are able to reach these people that some of us cannot reach. So with them course correcting me, it was like, all right, they're not going to listen to you as the messenger because this is where their vibration is. So they're going to attach to a person who, oh my gosh, that jiggle. Don't mind me. So they're going to attach to someone who resonates with them where they are. Cool. Eventually, they'll get tired of the messages that they're hearing and start to wonder how to fix it, or why the messages are still the same in a dense vibration, why they aren't actually amending certain things. Then they'll either move on their own, or the reader will shift, and it'll take care of itself because they have their own messengers, and they have their own guides, they have their own ancestors and certain deities that can reach out to them in a way that me and my team cannot. So I was like, okay, I have to take my hands off of this one. So I picked up this deck today, and it's like, this deck speaks to me in a different, altogether different way. It's one of those that take me in. And if it wasn't for Belinda, I probably wouldn't have brought it out with so much like giddiness, like, because I was like, man, are they ready? Are they ready? Or are they just kind of ready? The Mystic. Oh, y'all ready? Okay. This fault line looks like lightning. I'm gonna leave that exposed. So we have the Forest, and I want to show you how this eye looks similar to this here. We have the Mystic, the Forest, Judge, the Temple, and the Vow. This should give me chills. And I did see a monarch butterfly yesterday, and it was cool because I was actually listening to something, and they were like, watch out for monarch. Oh, it was Sal. And I hadn't resonated with his messages for a while, even though, I started to watch him when he was just still in his bedroom, reading in his windowsill. Like, there are a few readers that I saw when they were at their humble beginnings, and to see where they are now, it's like fucking proud. Truth Tarot is another one. I saw her from the very beginning, and it was like, I don't know. I don't know. It's really touching. But he was talking about monarch butterflies and to watch out for them, as far as they do give that sense of transformation. I still get a sense of heat with this. There is like this cosmic source that is in the middle. And it's like, no matter what the outer appearance is, it's something in the core that actually puts the process underway. So even still, when I see certain people right now, or even back then, maybe even a decade ago, when I was, coming into my own understanding of the things I couldn't explain but always knew and had to do that. I didn't have to do it, but I wasn't comfortable sharing that with anyone because I was always like, be quiet, you're talking too loud, or it was that kind of vibe, like you're talking about stuff that you shouldn't be talking about. You're a black woman, and you're a young woman at that. You're not this, old guy with a gray beard. I had hermit vibes about me, and people were like, mm-mm. Like you going too far now. We just want to watch hip hop and love and hip hop and talk crap about people. You're going too far into stuff that we're not ready for. And that's when I was like, okay, I had to see it here. I felt it here, and there was a burning desire to know more, or to feel more, or that there was a knowing that there was more, an expanse. So there was this type of going on one's own, and it was a place of safety. It was a place where, though there was no physical companion to go in that direction with me, or go on this pilgrimage, is the word I just heard, it was something I was guided to very specifically. How instinctual a caterpillar is to go through the metamorphosis and actually create that chrysalis. It's not something that they're like, oh, it's about time for me to go. It's about time for me to go. That's the only thing they feel. The things that transpire after that knowing is what a person, like, it takes them on it. It's their own course, and it's not something that they could have imagined it would be like. So the mirrored eyes here. These cards do have upright and reverse meanings, but it's like the way, and I've talked about this before, the flipped and upside down shit. And having heavy Libra influence in my chart, and having Scorpio influence and Virgo influence, it's really like, see both sides and dig into it. Like, really get into what you're looking at, and then look at the inverse. Look at the negatives, like the photos that I talk about sometimes. And I've been shown this on multiple occasions, how the black and white is, you also are looking at the gray areas. So in one way, okay, look at that judge. It's the judge card. And it has a lot to do with even the situation yesterday, making that reading. There was a level of judgment. There was a level of, like, trying to convey a point. But it's like, you can give, but you can also just be grateful for what it is. You can also receive. So it depends. It depends. There's multiple sides to a story, and the way that things work, the intricacies of how things work. It's like we're not the ultimate judge, even though we have our judgments. And this is why being in an unconditional state is not healthy for the human being, because certain conditions do dictate or influence the way that we live, the way that we cohabitate with, my bad. It does affect the way that we cohabitate with others. And when you're a caterpillar, there are certain things that you're going to feel. There's certain things that you're going to believe and see about the world. There's a certain view that you're going to have of it too. And it takes to have this kind of experience. And then this fault line starts to be, it starts to look different to you. You're not so quick to see wrong or right if you have understanding of the other aspect, or why it's necessary. Then there's a use for it. So when it comes to being the judge, it seems as if, those who do win and those who overrule are the ones that can argue the best. So I'm out of the argument game pretty much because it causes conflict to have to argue a point or to even feel you need to. This very same forest card here, there's a meeting of oneself, but also of truth. Period. The temple is where the truth is, but you have to go outside of yourself and out away from others in order to find this place. And it's like, damn, it's almost like, what is it, conundrum or what? I don't even know what word to use here. It's kind of weird to think you have to go outside to find that you just needed to be inside, but in a different sense. So it's like this is what is occurring while a person is out in this forest when they're really set apart from others, and there's no real, like, you can't share certain parts of your journey with another, or certain healing that you've have gone through has been really, really private. And not because you don't want to share it with anyone, it's because the events would have it, no one would be around to actually go through it with you. So there is a sense of being alone in this, just like a damn caterpillar going through their stage. But this is the life of a mystic. This is the course of mysticism. And there will be aloneness to a certain extent. Not all people who have mystic abilities are alone. There are some that are in relationships and things like that, and it works. But there are certain things about their mysticism that aren't wholeheartedly accessible by the person they're with. And it just won't be. And it's not a holding back or withholding. It's more so, it's so private. It's been so private. It's like you're on a mission that you can't divulge certain things. So while what I was saying yesterday, I was, on the right track with certain things being sacred and certain things having always been hidden because of that aspect. And that's not to make it seem as if it can't be accessed by certain people, but there's a certain vow in this temple space, and it shows up like this. It's just a knowing, because it's just certain things aren't allowed. And if it ever goes too far, each individual will know when they have to stop. It'll more than likely be a force that reckons with them, if that makes sense. And it'll come down like lightning. And that is the judge in a way that nobody can comprehend. It's not always negative forces. And I say negative in the way where people think they're darker entities or something like that. But if you're doing an action and it's not, it's against your spiritual vow, and I'm not talking about one that you may be conscious of. I'm talking about on a subconscious level. There's a certain vow. There's a certain connection or certain sacredness that you're supposed to uphold. The moment you go to oppose it, it will force you away from doing that thing. Perfect example, I speak to somebody on the phone and I'm about to bring up a topic and speak on something, the phone will cut off, conversation over. They'll call again, we'll get to a certain point, conversation over. I have all my bars. It's not the reception, but it's the energetic influence stopping a person from breaking their vows. So people may think, okay, when they're having computer malfunctions or they're having, especially around Mercury retrograde, but you have to understand when Mercury retrogrades occur, legend has it, Mercury is going to the underworld to retrieve things. I mean, he's a messenger, right? So while he's not around, there's certain, that governor is not there to maintain its function. And people start to fuck up. And it has a lot to do, on the mundane sense, it's like double check and be sure, but it also asks a person, be very fucking sure before you share this information, because you're not in full awareness of your faculties about what you're about to share. And you don't have that check box to ask you before you say it if it's information you actually want to share. There's a certain like a guard post when Mercury is doing its thing, and when it's in retrograde, certain vows can be broken because there's no regulation. There's no like I said, the governor is out of the building, so there's a little bit of havoc with the energies, especially when it comes to communication, and that is something that is being protected because there's certain gems. I say gems, and here's one here. And then there's two pearls. There's something very, very like private about your connection with the divine that's being asked not to be shared. And I now I understand better, because I was thinking when I was having this conversation like with them and having myself handed to me, all the information they've had me research, look into, learn, develop, and it's not being allowed to be shared in certain spaces. I get it now. And it's like I have all of this knowledge. They want me to do something else with it. And it's like, okay, you can only speak on what we allow you to speak on. Some people are being allowed to speak on other things, and maybe it's to give the exposure to it or to show the power of thought form and teaching those a lesson to be discerning and to develop their own endurance or strength to use this temple space, to really use that knowing. Some people got into spirituality through tarot, even though they may have already had a spiritual side to them or way about them. I do feel that the portal itself that is this tool opened doors. And once they started to see synchronistic shit and magical shit and unexplainable shit occurring, it was a hunger for it. And then so more people became cooks in order to feed people who needed it or who they felt needed it like they once needed it. And it's like, there is a point to it. It is a tool, true enough. But the different doors that it opens, not everyone is ready for. And it's cool because not everybody's, one tool may lead people to rooms. They may lead them to like Druid stuff and Celtic stuff and fays and fairies. Like there's so many different aspects of how the elemental realms and the spiritual realms do operate around us. There's levels, legitimate energetic levels to this shit. And it can open up other things. If you believe in angels, you know that there are antagonists to them, right? Like you're opening doors in your awarenesses, because And that's where the effects start to shake some people, because there will be an acknowledgement in one direction and an ignorance towards the other, but they are one of the same. So this temple and this mystic energy, even this forest energy, also the judge, I mean, it is coming into play here for me. It's, you don't have one without the other. Magician. I made a comment earlier today, and it was something about a sleight of hand. But you can't fool a magician with sleight of hand. Not when they're naturally born that way. And they can see it and they can recognize it. And I feel that with the judge card here, I think speaking on it, it will end up revealing itself in time. Page of Wands. And the fox energy, though, you notice that? It'll be something said that reveals something you already know. The Empress. Especially with Venus and Virgo. The meticulousness of the Virgo mind and eye, with the influence of Libra, Taurus, and the Empress. You won't miss it. You won't miss it. You'll see it. You'll see it very clearly. Ten of Cups. This is the unrealized Ten of Cups. You see, it's kind of like the rough draft of it. One way the card could have been designed. She left it in the deck. Really cool. This is giving me like promised land, like a sense of a false sense of it, like somebody painting a picture for you of what it's supposed to look like and what it's supposed to be like, but then there's inner conflict about it because it just doesn't feel right. Page of Wands is conveying this message. And it may be when a person's in a state of abundance. And yesterday, when I did that reading, that influence came up. Two of Pentacles. Two of Cups. How I'm feeling with these two. It's like it's going to show you, out of these two things, which is what's being conveyed and the truth itself, you're only going to accept one of them. And I want to get a random card in the middle. The Fool. So the Fool that was mentioned yesterday was a person who was trying to fool in a negative sense with sleight of hand. Just bear with me, because you'll notice someone in your environment like this. It'll be a sleight of hand, or convey a message, double talk, or trying to spit it out. Blind faith, though. This is what I'm seeing with this. You're really going to have to trust yourself when it comes to this. This is snake rattle here, but this is a snake too. So it's not like anything can be used against you and prevail. It's like you have the understanding and you have certain awarenesses, and you'll know. Oh, fuck. That's a lot of cards. I'm taking them. The moon. I shit you not. The phases on this card. The moon. When I spoke about the subconscious and having these agreements just with your own soul, because your spirit, you can be familiar with your spirit and how your spirit evolves, but your soul, you're still getting secrets from. You're still getting messages through, whether you've incarnated before or just you're recalling things or having things come through the crown on a soul level. Seven of Pentacles. So everything has its value, right? And even with the message the Empress conveys, or there's something that you do get from the message itself. So not everything is a waste, even if it's not in the best, or what you would perceive to be or judge to be the best. King of Swords. Let me show you the Chariot, the Hierophant, Page of Swords. So this King of Swords is sitting underneath this promise. And it's something about this King of Swords energy that's like, there's something about it that's not right. Or there's something about it, it's really giving me that Judgment vibe to it. This is where the logical mind kicks in. And it's like, well, this is too fantasy-like, or this is too unrealistic, or this is where the question starts to come up. When a person starts to realize that they all have the same ending, or they all have a certain vibration to them. Chariot. So, not in this card in particular, but we know the Chariot typically has those, it still has that vibration of, or that choice kind of attached to it. Dual aspect to it, if I can say, not necessarily a choice, because you can use the willpower, you can use that ambition and drive that chariot forward, but it's still a personal choice. But if you're getting conflicting messages or energies are being scattered, what is driving you, or how do you navigate? So the Two of Pentacles is coming up with this Hierophant. And I like this depiction of the Hierophant because it has ancient keys on it. Things that align with older practices, rituals, and traditions, more so than newer church-like types of things. This is scarab beetle. This is, and it has a ring here. I didn't realize that this was like two heads. Golly. There's a key, and then there's this symbol here. Oh, how similar, though, it looks. Like the key of Venus. So there is an attraction, there is an allure, right? And this is what is building discernment. It's like, okay, out of these two pentacles, what you're feeling and hearing and receiving, and what inwardly with the vow and the moon and the temple is true. How do they match? How do they feel? Are they similar? Because in the Two of Pentacles, you're seeing somebody balance two equally important things, or seemingly balancing two equally important things. They have a similar weight to them. They both equally, yeah, they both equal. They're both equal in importance, but for different reasons. And Hierophant is going to let you use the Judge energy to first filter it through your logical mind with this King of Swords, and then use the Fool and the Chariot with your intuitive mind, your intuitive knowing, the mystic knowing. If you'll take a look at the moon, there's certain parts of this lobster that are, it's like showing different phases of the moon. There are different angles, there are different portions, there are different fractions of a bigger truth. You're only going to see so much of it at once, and you're gonna get them like puzzle pieces, and eventually you'll be able to see the picture for what it really is versus what it was told to you. This is why the forest is necessary, so you have an understanding of what things look like when there is no light to be shown. We have Page of Swords, and this is underneath the Two of Cups. This influences questioning all connections, like questioning everything, and not in a way to be rebellious or to be confrontational, but reasonable doubt. There'll be some things that you'll judge with the intuition of the Fool, but also the Fool can be unprepared. They know they're unprepared, so when they're in and immersed in an environment, they can receive some things they didn't bargain for as well. There's always that flip side to being the Fool. And it's like, yeah, take a leap of faith. You may be okay, but you can still, sprain your ankle on the way down. It's not saying that just because the Fool is here and you can take a blind leap of faith that you'll go unscathed. It's just saying that where you are, you've worn out that stage, and it's time to put yourself into something new. That's something that happens with everything. About to close out this reading. I'm going to sum up this reading. So I see a progression. The card underneath is the Knight of Wands. So now there's an urgency or a sense of, I just feel like with this Knight of Wands, something is coming, right? Something is coming. There's the Knight of Pentacles and the Ace of Wands. And then here's the star. The star that is like, again, it's like the rough draft. And how I feel about it when I see this, especially right now, is that it's, I'm getting fucking chills. It's the vow. Something you always know, something that always permeates at the center, in your center. Kind of like this. Like when you know something's in there, like for those who have never had kids or who aren't pregnant, who aren't women, there you get that gut feeling, and you get it so fucking strong, and that has to do a lot with this star here. This is before you see it actually come to fruition, but it's something that always keeps you going and keeps a momentum about you. This is underneath the Chariot. So even with the Hierophant influence, this star, the vow, the source, your soul, is guiding you towards exactly what you align with. So even if you can outwardly question everything and not take things at face value, you still have another compass that is working on your behalf, and it's giving you Knight of Pentacles endurance. This is the one knight that has more endurance than the others. And guess what? This, when it comes down to this Hierophant, it's like you can choose to get it either way, right? So if you choose by the way of the Empress, which is another person, etc., who's a deliverer, like in a delivery room, actually delivering something, there will still be a sense of conflict, no matter who it is. Not even I'm exempt, because you'll resonate with some things, and then there will be other things that you don't resonate. That part of you that knows is not for you is your vow. That is your temple being active, like you, because you've had this experience with the mystic, to come into your own stage of metamorphosis. You're at certain stages. Everybody's at their own stages. So no matter who the Empress presents themselves to be, no matter their level of magician ability, whether it's natural or sleight of hand, when the message finds you and is delivered to you, this Five of Wands will sometimes occur, and you'll be able to start to sift and sort through and know when something, well, that's not right, or that's not. And a lot of these may be general or whatever, but a lot of people do attach them word for word and start to manifest those readings in their everyday life, especially the ones that are on the more deep end. Deep as in like abysmal verse. And I saw the abysmal word yesterday in damn I Ching cards. But this aspect of the Hierophant that is more ancient and more primordial fits right fucking here. And this is how you'll be able to activate from this energy. So nothing is wasted. Nothing is wasted. There's a reason why it gives you this sense of, that's not exactly right. Because then the acquisitive nature is going to have you start to question and asking yourself the right questions. And this is what unlocks the primordial essence of what the Hierophant can really be versus the outward appearance as a deliverer. Everybody has a Hierophant archetype. That's who solidifies in the vows. You have to understand that. And people who hate the Hierophant energy, it's like, okay, the way you're judging it based on your own experience with what you think it is the reason why you can't get past what it's necessary for. So everything has a use. Nothing is wasted. That's pretty much what I'm getting with this. And it's like, even those things that we don't see as beneficial, we're only seeing it because we don't feel like it benefits us. Or we don't think it's good, when the effects of it can do a lot of good, if that makes sense. So I'm going to leave this right here. And I hope you understand where the fuck I'm coming from, because you'll have a refined truth when it comes to this type of thing. The truth that you're consciously aware of. And then you'll have the subconscious. And they're in two different states, but they do the same thing. So sometimes the empress or the deliverer or the messengers or the things that are conflicting are actually driving people closer to truth. So the sense of the Hierophant may have people receiving this so they can know the difference when they receive the real thing. You understand? And that happens in personal relationships, interpersonal relationships too, where people have to get a sense of the not so true and know something's off and can't quite put their finger on it. And then they come back around to the real raw truth of it, and then they understand the bigger picture so much better. But a lot of people are still in the stage of the fault line, where they consider themselves on one side or the other. They don't understand that this is a breaking of their own. They're going to have to break anyway. It's going to be a breakdown and a breakthrough. Remember yesterday, a lot of people are at the point where their breakthroughs were stuck and they were upside down. So, by choice or by force, it's going to come on its own, or you're going to be pushed. So it's like being born, literally born again, and coming through that canal. I shit you not. Just to make it out of the temple. So the things that are inside the temple start to reflect on the outside. Some people are not there yet. And it's like, okay, cool. But you made this vow that that's where you were going and that's what you were going to do. So it's inevitable. It will come. But some people go overturn. And some people come premature. And so you will see where things are being done prematurely or things are too mature for the maturation is a little more advanced than normal, or what seems like normal. It depends on what subconscious level you're looking from and how well you're acclimated to your own vows and your own life mission. So I'm going to close this out. You are coming into an expansion of the crown chakra, but it will be through the throat that it happens, through your understanding of what truth is. It'll start to feel different, sound different, mean something different to you. Once you get both sides of the truth, both indications of its usage. You ever see where like a case where a person may be considered guilty for whatever they did, but they did something that actually benefited others? Like I was just thinking about The Incredibles, where Mr. Incredible saved a person from jumping from a high up place, and the man was trying to self-harm. He was trying to commit suicide, and he helped him, and the man sued him for it. There was lawsuits. So it was like he was doing something for a benefit, and it backfired on him. It depends on who you're looking at. It depends on, in one regard, a person could be like, you did something very, very wrong. And in another regard, it could be rendered as being beneficial. So I said it already.